Welcome back to As Tom Tells It. My guest tonight, Joe Abreu, is an exciting guy. He's had a great career, and he's got something good to show you later on. So let's meet Joe now. How you doing, Joe?
Well, great. Thanks, Tom, for having me.
Why don't we start with your real estate, because that was interesting. I did that myself in the 90s.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So I started back in 1994. I was 20 years old.
Oof.
I was in college, and I found an ad, and it said, come on in and find out a little bit more about becoming a sales agent. And I didn't know what that really meant. I just thought I would walk in and I would start showing houses right away. And it was Century 21. It was a much bigger company back then. And they said, nope, you have to get a license. And I thought, oh, wow, well, maybe I should go get a job somewhere else. And they said, oh, no, why don't you go ahead and take the course, and you're going to learn so much. And I actually made the commitment. I started taking the class, and I went right through it. I learned so much about real estate. But then thereafter, I also took their sales course. And that really, really opened my eyes to the whole sales aspect. And I learned so much more.
So you sold single-family homes and mixed use.
Yes.
Give us an idea what mixed use actually means.
So mixed use is usually the combination of a single-family home, maybe with a storefront, or sometimes you have a small gas station, but it has a two-family attached to it.
Oh, okay.
That's something that you would see in smaller towns. And what I found is that the bigger gas station companies weren't very interested in purchasing these smaller properties. They had like a two-family attached to it or so. And I thought that would be a little arbitrage, a little chance for me to pick up these small properties that no one else really wanted and find a way to get into the investment side of it.
Let me ask you a question. You see this late night stuff about get rich quick, and these guys come into town and sell you $1,000 worth of books and tapes. What is that stuff really?
Well, that's a very good question. I get that a lot. I've never taken any of those courses. So going back to 2004, I was at a real estate company, and on a Sunday, this gentleman calls in, and I pick up the phone, and he says, can you show me X, Y, and Z properties? And I'm thinking, maybe I should. I don't have anything else to do. It's Sunday afternoon. Let me go ahead and get out there. I start showing him properties, and he says, I'm an investor. And I said, okay, what does that mean? I'm 20 years old. And he says, well, let's take a look at this property, that property, and as I go along, I'll show you what the process and how I make money with real estate. And I said, okay. And he would pass up some deals that I thought that were I thought they were great. And he's thinking, no, I want to move on to the next property. And he did that probably, I want to say he skipped at least 10 great properties. And probably about 6 months of me following him around and listening to all his investment strategies, one day I just looked at him, I said, I think that property that you just missed, I think we could make a lot of money with that. And he said, no. You have so much to learn. And I said, no, if you don't mind, can I just go ahead and put a bid in for myself?
Wow, this is a cool story.
Yeah, 21 years old. And I went ahead and put in a bid for my first property. And he said, well, I don't know, Joe. I don't know if that's going to be a good idea. You're just starting out, so be careful. You can get seriously hurt. And I put in the bid, started repairing it. And then probably about 4 months later, I flipped the property. And I'm driving back after the closing. And there's $20-something thousand with a check with my name on it. Wow. And I had never, ever seen that much money in my life. Here I'm 21 years old, and I thought, with my name on it. And I got home, and I didn't want to cash the check. I mean, I wanted to cash the check, but I really didn't want to. And I made a copy of it. I'm staring at it. I wanted to sleep with it that night because I'm so excited. And the very next day, I thought, well, wait, maybe I can do that again. I don't know. And I moved on to the next thing.
Now, you were still a real estate agent?
I was.
Okay.
Yes. And I purchased the next property. And then the next property. And then that just started to snowball little by little. So going back to your question, I think a lot of those late night commercials, there's a lot of truth behind it because I think we've done it locally and I've seen it myself. So it is possible. I just don't know about which specific ones. But I think there are a lot of great local coaches that you can actually tap into and contact, that you can get a lot more information and they can teach you a hands-on process.
I went to one of those one time, my son and I, and this older gentleman was going to talk. And this young kid, I just quit my job. I just bought 3 condos. I don't need
Yeah.
to work anymore. So he says to the older guy, not knowing who he was,
Yeah.
he said, you're talking tonight? How many properties do you own? He goes, 3. Kid goes, really? I got to listen to you? And I'm going, buddy, you don't even know who the guy is. So he gets up. He starts talking. He goes, I want to address one question with this young gentleman right here. I own 3 properties. They're all 50-unit apartment buildings. So, wow, that's pretty good.
Absolutely.
So do you flip them or keep them?
Okay. So currently, I only hold a few pieces of property now, but in the past, I would flip as much as I could.
Is there a state law that you can only flip so many
No.
in Connecticut?
No, not that I know
okay.
of.
So those shows where they flip a house in 3 days on TV, sort of true?
Well, I do tell you, I've had some great opportunities. I can tell you some great stories. I've had the 10-minute flips where I purchased a property and sold it on the same closing table and
Wow.
flipped it. And I have the buyer, he says, did you just buy that property and sold it to me? So you sold me a property you never even owned. I said, well, yeah, it was in the contract. I explained this to you. And he said, I can't believe you made so much money in about 10 minutes. And then he left. And then he called me probably about a month later, and he's still upset. And he says, Joe, I can't believe you did that. And I said, well, you know what? I have another property. And we start talking again, and we go through the whole sales process. And he says, okay, well, I guess I can buy the second one. And he closed again and purchased the second property from me with the same terms, 10 minutes later.
Wow.
So it is possible.
Okay, let's see. I'm interested in the Series 6 since I had a 6 and 63.
Yes.
How'd that come about?
So the Series 7, I ended up, I was purchasing properties and flipping them, and it was a great business. Now I wanted to scale, and I wanted to have all types of businesses. And I ended up opening a mortgage company, I ended up a private lending company, and then I also wanted to have a stock brokering company.
Oh.
But to do that,
So how old are you now?
yeah, at this point I'm 25.
Okay.
25, 26 years old. And I decided, but then I guess I have to get my own license because I don't want to teach anything to anyone. I don't want to coach anyone or help anyone really or direct them unless I know the process, unless I've done it myself. And I just opened the books and I went at it for a few weeks and just reading.
That's
and
a tough test.
Yeah, it really is.
And I think it's up around 65-70% don't pass the first time.
Yes.
It's rough. 6 and 63 wasn't bad, but that's 7,
Yes.
which gives you a lot of latitude on buying and purchasing.
Yes. And it took, so I just locked myself up in a room for
Do you
weeks.
still have the 7?
I do not. I do not. But that was one of the reasons that I decided to do that, and it was just so I can get ready to have a team. Now we're nearing, that started to become successful and was doing well, but that was also another opportunity I had because now this was a much larger national company that had a great sales system, and I learned their sales process as well.
So now I like this, inspirational CD in both languages. So did you do this on the side or how'd that come about?
Okay, so that's a great story. Fast forward a little bit, 26, I get married, 28, I have my first child, and everyone's telling you absolutely everything that you have to do in your life. You know, when you talk to the baby, make sure you're positive, make sure you say this, make sure you say that. And I'm looking at my wife and saying, how could we ever really keep up by today's standards of parenting? I can't give them a positive affirmation every 2 seconds. I need to do something else. And I thought to myself, there's got to be a better way. And my wife said, well, Joe, please, there can't be a better way. You have to tell him. And I'm thinking, I'll maximize, because this is what I do. I maximize at everything I do. And I recorded positive affirmations, and then I played it for the kids at night while they were sleeping. And
oh, that's cool.
so while I'm sleeping, I am providing positive affirmations to my kids. So I maximize even my night sleep. And someone asked me and said, Joe, I mean, that's a great idea. Why don't you give me a copy of it? I said, okay, that sounds great. And I actually burnt it onto CDs and started selling it online. And then I gave it to a national company who actually uploaded and started selling downloads. Before you know it, I was getting notifications, selling a copy in Russia, in Spain, China.
Wow.
And then it was being sold all over the world. And it just started because I wanted to maximize my affirmations with my children.
I like doing that stuff. I have a similar story. When one of our sons was younger, when he would go to sleep, I'd say to yourself 3 times, I like myself, I'm a good person. Boom.
Yeah.
He just had a baby 3 years ago, and she talks now. He goes, listen.
Yeah.
And he taught it to her.
Wow.
It does work. It's
That's great.
positive, especially in this world today. It's just rough.
I agree.
Okay, it's obvious that you're a good storyteller, so that's how it brought you into this international speech contest, and you're with Toastmasters?
Yes.
Okay.
So Toastmasters, if your audience is maybe may or may not be as familiar, is a international organization that provides communication and leadership skills. And I decided to join Toastmasters. I'll take you back some years.
Okay.
About-
How old are you now?
I know, now I got to go back.
Maybe 29?
So now I'm 41 years old.
Oh.
And that's when I found out about Toastmasters. I'm dating myself here. Now everyone's going to know my age, if you're figuring the math. I'm 41 years old, and I said, I have to go down my bucket list. I have to make sure that I check off absolutely everything. And you have everything. And I started by looking at the list that most humans, the thing that most humans fear. And public speaking is almost at the top, right? And it's right along with skydiving and all that great stuff.
And your mother-in-law.
And my mother-in-law. Well, I have a nice one of those, so I took her off the list.
That's on film.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, I'm a smart man. Well, and I thought, okay, skydiving is easy. You go ahead, you're there for a couple hours, you jump, check it off your list, and you're done. But public speaking requires a little more time than that. And I attended my first Toastmasters meeting, and I was just floored about how amazing these speakers were. Just floored. And I thought, wow, I just wanted to get up there and say hello and my name.
And these people are like all different walks of life.
Absolutely. Yeah. In my club, at the club that I actually joined, my first club, there were professors, and they had been there for years, 20, 30 years, and they had a lot of experience. And they earned the highest award that Toastmasters provides, which is the Distinguished Toastmaster. And we had a lot of those in our club, which meant those guys can speak for hours, nonstop. And I was so impressed by that. And my general feeling is that if you see something that you're totally overwhelmed by, or maybe you have a little nervous, well, I don't want to go away from it. I want to go towards it. And my thought was, okay, well then, if I'm half as good as those guys, I would be pretty good. And I kept coming back, and that's how I got into Toastmasters. And I think it was that engagement.
So let's talk about the roles of Toastmasters and how that helps you become a better speaker.
Sure. So on the leadership side, as a Toastmaster, you get the opportunity to work to help clubs grow, and then you also have the opportunity to work within the areas, and that means you have certain clubs within a specific area, and then you have a division, and you have multiple areas within that division, and then it grows onto the district level. Now, the district level in this area, in Connecticut, District 53, we have all of Connecticut, and then western Massachusetts from Boston on, and then north of New York City all the way to Canada. So it's a pretty big area that we have. What I had the opportunity or the ability to be able to do was to join Toastmasters and say, where can I belong? And there's always someone in Toastmasters who can actually identify where you are within the leadership process and make some suggestions. And I started by becoming an area director, which is, I had probably about 4 or 5 clubs that I would visit and see their style. And then thereafter, I moved up to the district level as a club growth director. And
a lot more time, a lot more paperwork.
That requires a lot
Now,
of time.
we're lucky because we have one right here in Wallingford, one of the bigger, older clubs.
Yes.
They just celebrated their anniversary last week.
Wow.
There's one right over next door in Cheshire.
That's great.
Now, when it comes to speaking contests,
Yes.
explain that to people, because I find that really interesting, and how good you have to be on number one.
That is a totally different animal altogether. And this is interesting because as a club growth director, you have to attend the district conferences. And as you sit there, you watch the contests as they happen. And it's so different because you're just looking at a contestant comes up to stage, and they have 5 to 7 minutes to deliver their inspirational speech. And then they sit back down, and then the next one, and you have 7 of those. That happens on a yearly basis to select that one person that will be representing the district at the international level. And you pretty much just think of it as a regular presentation, and that's what we're accustomed to. Like you and I are coaches, and we help people all the time. Mm-hmm. So we basically help people just work with a specific presentation, but we have a little bit longer timeline. In an inspirational speech in a competition, you have 5 to 7 minutes to bring an individual into an emotional state, and then bring them back up and motivate them, and then give them a takeaway in that short time.
With everything perfect.
With everything perfect. And that's your body language, that's
gestures,
that's
timing, pausing, use of the stage, understanding your audience.
Exactly. And
now anybody, just to let you know, folks, anybody can join Toastmasters. We have one right here in town. If you want to get good at something, this is amazing, and you won't believe, like Joe just said, how much content and emotion and a story they can get in 7 minutes and 15 seconds. One of these shows, I'm going to show you a world championship speech, and it's going to floor you. It's just unbelievable. And these guys practice. One thing I just want to say about speaking is if you get a chance to watch the 2009 Steve Jobs video, watch it. That's perfect. He's considered the king. One picture, one word, he's the presenter, the messenger, and the message, right?
Mm-hmm. That's right. That was a great speech.
Now, you're coaching people and you have a booklet out. You want to talk about that?
Yes.
Let's talk about that for a while.
Absolutely. I decided that now that I have a lot of history and understanding of the communication process by learning through Toastmasters and then the leadership side, and then also having all of the sales background, I thought maybe I should just write a couple of workbooks. And these workbooks are intended for the people that I coach, that I'm working with. Mm-hmm. And as I'm writing the books, I'm thinking, well, maybe I should probably make it a little bit wider so that way other people can take advantage of what I'm working with. Because again, I've had all of this experience, but I needed to channel it somewhere. And then this workbook is actually my first creation of channeling that experience. And I started with the communication. Sales is just as important for me, but they both come together. And if you're thinking that, communication, you can't be a great salesperson without being a great communicator.
That's right.
And then the other way, vice versa, is also the same. You can't be a great communicator unless you're a great salesperson, because most people don't realize that they're always selling. We're selling to one another all the time.
Yeah,
even when we're exchanging words with our friends, we're selling ourselves.
So there's a second one coming?
Yes, there is.
Now, what do you teach these at workshops and lectures?
Yes.
Okay.
So right now it is set up to be taught as a workshop. But mostly I want to give a copy to every person that I coach. That way we have something in common that we can all work together from.
Now, do you have them do homework, or you coach them along one session after the other?
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's a great question, because initially I wanted to call it book. But then I thought, wait, I want to make it a workbook.
Yes.
Because I want to add examples. I want to add projects to it, things that you can build on. So that way you can become a better speaker.
So is it working out pretty well?
I just started out now, and basically everything that's in this book I've used in the past, and it's been fantastic. I've taken people from never have spoken a word ever in public to being great presenters. And I have a case in point. I had someone that I actually mentored who contacted me and said, Joe, I've never spoken in public, but could you help me? And I said, okay, so can we meet and maybe you can present something, and I'll have a general idea where you are and where we can go from there. And I took every strategy that I had here in this workbook, and once I saw what I had to work with, and then I said, okay, we're going to go to this chapter. We're going to go to that page. We're going to do this. We're going to do that.
So you were reading the person and knew what they needed.
Absolutely.
Not necessarily everything in that.
That's correct. And I wanted to go ahead and evaluate the person to see what we can work with, what we need to work on. And what I didn't know is that ultimately this person was actually presenting to the state of Connecticut for receiving a big major award from the governor. And when later on, after he received the award, he contacted me and said how great it was that I was able to help him. I didn't know that's exactly what I was doing. But that is, for me,
The greatest. It's better than what you do for yourself.
Exactly.
Just like your children or your family.
Exactly.
It's a great feeling.
it's made me so proud. Yeah.
So I want a story, another success story. Of all the stuff we were talking about, what drives you, what's your passion, and what you hope to get out of helping all these people?
Great. Good question. If you see the title, it says Get Up and Speak. And this is the name of this workbook. The next one that I'm working on is on sales. It's Get Up and Sell. And the connection is get up. And a lot of it is because if you look back in my history, is when I was much younger, I was very outgoing and I wanted to do it all. But then along the way in life, like most of us as we're growing up, we come in contact with other people. And sometimes those people have a way that maybe bruises our ego a little bit, and then we start to shy away a little and start going back into the background more and more and more. And we don't get up and respond to the things that we want to with these positive energy, the things that can get us to success. And we start to say no. And that's what I did. I started to say no. If we go back to my 20s, I had actually built multiple companies. And the individuals who had known me well had said, Joe, you're creating jobs. You're doing this. These are great things. Why don't you share? Why don't you come into the colleges? Why don't you come into our company and give us a success story? No, thank you. No, thank you. I said no. I didn't know why. I really didn't know why. I just knew that I'm too busy. And I had a lot of great excuses. And my competition started taking those, which weren't doing nearly as well. And I started to think to myself, wait a minute, maybe I have to do something about this. And I think that's one of the opportunities that I had, was to realize that we have to forget about the why. Sometimes we all have tons of whys, but what we have to do is start to say yes. We have to get up and say yes to all the opportunities, because we don't know what's on the other side. But if we're not there to take advantage of it, we're never going to succeed. We're never going to see it.
So to wrap this thing up, you have a mantra for yourself that keeps you going, helps you every day.
So going back to this, the get up, which actually created, is always say yes. I always say yes. And no matter where I go, I talk to my friends or go elsewhere, anyone who asks me for anything, my answer will always be yes.
Wow.
Because I have a fear that if I say no, what am I going to miss? Because I've missed so much in my life.
Nice.
For saying no. And what I want is to be able to teach others. Let's look at where you are at this point, and let's forget a little bit about the why. We can identify that, but let's forget about that and move on and just say, okay, let's accept that there will be situations that were impacted by our past. But now we have to say yes so we can accept and be in that moment and see success on the other side. And we're going to get up and speak if that's what we have to do, or we're going to get up and sell, whether we're selling ourselves or we're selling a product or service.
Joe, I want to appreciate you, and I really like the idea that you came here today.
Right.
Folks, this is the end of session 3, or episode 3. But as I always say, remember, you have to look your best, to speak your best, to lead your best. Come on back, session 4 next week.
Thank you.
Tom's 2-minute tips or less. Body language tip tonight. 7 conversation starters, the bad ones and the good ones. Number 1, how's work? Or, working on any exciting projects lately? Number 2, how are you? How about, what was the highlight of your day? Number 3, what do you do? How about, what's your personal passion? Number 4, how's the family? How about going on vacation with your family this year? Number 5, where are you from? Tell me your story. Number 6, how's it going? What are you doing this weekend for fun? Number 7, been busy? I don't even know what that one means. What do you do to unwind? You see, these all invite your clients to talk to you more rather than a yes or no answer. So if you use these conversations, watch what happens and watch the difference, go up. See you at the next tip.